ahead and call regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, also sitting as all special taxing districts, March 4, 2024, 9 a.m. to order. Board members will attend either in person, by telephone, or remotely via electronic conferencing. We're all here. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Light,
please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomments@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comments will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meetings that start at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have emails?
We have an email from Joseph Murek. However, he is in the audience. So
And he is, okay, thank you. And we'll have some speaker forms. I'll go in the order I received them. And Gail Castricone.
Good morning. My name is Gail Castricone, and I am the neighborhood advocate for the Avenue B and C Colonia. On Saturday, March 2nd, our community had its first spring butterfly project cleanup. It was held at Mr. and Mrs. Duran's home. It has been in their family for 80 years. Mr. Duran was born there. The Durans have always kept their home and yard clean. They live on an acre of land. Their health has made them unable to maintain the yard, so we decided to bless them with a cleanup day. Our steering committee wants to thank the pastors from the Hope Center Church, my family, and the residents of the Avenue B and C Colonia. We had a total of 17 volunteers. We appreciated them giving up their Saturday to lend a helping hand. We filled 3 trucks and trailers with piles of tree branches, tree stumps, and 85 bags of yard clippings. We have one more trailer that will go to the dump this week. When we were all done Saturday, we ate pizza and cookies from the famous Cookie Rookies, and it was a great time to meet and make new friends. Last week, I met with several neighbors in the area. I spent a lot of time listening to their concerns. Number 1 concern is the Bam Park. Number 2 is speeding cars. Number 3, non-resident trashed properties. The Bam Park knows that they are going to court in May, so they are attempting to clean up the park. Isn't it amazing that they have had so many opportunities to clean up the park in the last 3 years? Instead of cleaning up the property, it was trashed even more and had more crime and more fires. I want the county to know that the residents of the B&C Colonia will not settle for a half-hearted attempt to clean up. As long as the park has the same unqualified manager running the park, crime will continue and they will still not be able to maintain the property. We're hopeful that the Sheriff's Department and the Department of Development Services will implement the broken window theory. Without the county's full support, we will not be able to have the Avenue B and C enjoy a safe and thriving community that every resident deserves. We would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for approving the Avenue B and C Colonia Beautification Grant. For the first time in the history of the B and C Colonia, there will be lights and a walking path and a place for children to ride their bikes without the fear of being run over by a car. Proverbs 16:9, a man's heart plans his ways, but the Lord directs his steps. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Gail. And I'm glad that, well, you'll be meeting with Lynn, so Supervisor Pancrazy, so she'll update you on what's coming more on for the Bean Colony. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. You got it started.
Dennis Franklin? Dennis?
My name's Dennis Franklin, 1845 South Arizona Avenue here in Yuma, Arizona. And some of you know that I've been working for the last 12 years behind the scenes trying to further Yuma and its economic prosperity. And one of the things is economic development along the river area. When you do something like that, you have to explore all the opportunities that are out there. And one of the things was Farm Fresh to You type of restaurants to highlight Yuma, Arizona. When you do something like that, you look everywhere. I'm in the retail trade. And one of the things we looked at was vertical farming, because you can produce 365 days a year. It's very efficient, very eco-friendly, and it uses 95% less water. We wanted that so that we could make Yuma attractive for tourism. But at the same time, that investigation led farther. And the more I investigated, I started thinking, we may have a problem, but we also have a lot of opportunities. One of the problems is that vertical farming was somewhat new, and it was so expensive to do that it wasn't really an impact on Yuma's economy. But now we went to, as one reporter said it, we're now 2.0, vertical farming 2.0. They figured out how to make it effective. The cost of vertical farming has gone down. The cost of traditional farming has started going up. As it has been going up. Around the world, this is just exploding. For example, Canada 5 years ago had no vertical farming whatsoever. Quebec now has 50% of all their leafy greens that used to come from Yuma, Arizona, are now being produced locally. British Columbia has started going the same direction, and in Calgary. The prediction is, this is coming from a Department of Agriculture in Canada, says that within 5 years that they will no importing, and they use the name, importing leafy greens from Salinas or Yuma, Arizona. Now, we got a $3.2 billion GDP comes from the agriculture community in the leafy greens itself. What kind of impact is that going to have on the economy? I don't know. I just know that when I look around what's happening on the East Coast, the West Coast, and around the world, and what manufacturers are doing, and by the way, 2 of the processors here, cooling houses, have approached a colleague of mine asking him, because he knows we were investigating this, about converting some of their plants here in Yuma to vertical farming. They would no longer need our farmers. But we have the infrastructure here. So the interest is there. From grocery stores that are being built today that have next to them or on top of them vertical farms, they'll no longer be getting their leafy greens from Yuma, Arizona. Now, I wrote a piece. I put a bunch of stuff together because I was concerned. I gave it to Lynn Pancrazy. She has it. I would implore this body to take a cursory look at this, use what resources you have in your economic development, see if this is going to be a problem. Because I also put in their solutions. Most of you know Charlene Fernandez. She can't do anything until you request her presence to try to get the USDA to help us out in this area. I've made contact with them. It's all ready. I'll leave you with this point. A container, 320 square feet, is equal to production of 2.5 acres of farmland, but it does it in 365 days a year, regardless of climate, wind can change, wind, rain, whatever, and it uses 95% less water. There's grocery store chains around the country that are putting these in and supplying their own leafy greens that they no longer get from Yuma, Arizona. So I don't know what the future is going to hold. I think that this body representing the entire county should take a look at this a hard look at this and what opportunities we can get from it, but also what that future is going to look like. I don't know if anybody's looking at this or seeing it, but I'm seeing it. And I'm seeing the potential to make Yuma, Arizona much more than what it could be. When you start talking STEM, you can take a container. By the way, the USDA has put over probably 150 these container farms in high schools and junior colleges around the country already. They just approved a bunch more money, but for rural Arizona. So San Luis High School, Somerton High School, the junior college, all of those, even out in Welton, those schools could get a vertical farm. And those vertical farms are not only teaching STEM, which we call science and technology, because they use AI in many different forms. They use robotic in many different forms, and all the other disciplines that we want our kids to learn. The reason why Charlene Fernandez is interested and why I have a discussion with some of her staff, how do you integrate, and it's already starting, by the way, vertical farming with traditional farming? And what we're finding out is that even in the strawberries, they start the strawberries in a closed environment and then transplant them. You could probably knock off 30% of the growing time in traditional farming and lettuce and drop the cost of that by starting lettuce products in a closed environment and then transplanting them, because we already have the equipment, we have everything we need. How do we utilize sunlight? There's all kinds of questions, and I put that in the paper that I wrote for Lynn Pancrazy. So please take a look at this. I am concerned about what it's going to do to the economy of Yuma County. In the meantime, I'm going to go work on a $2 to $3 million project. It may expand into 5 to bring tourism to Yuma out of the Martinez Lake area that me and Darren have been looking at. So on that note, I wish you all the luck in the world. Please do not discount what I'm telling you. It just demands a little further look, okay? If you need any more information, trust me, when I do research, I've got stacks and stacks and stacks of information. So I can help your staff if they need anything. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Next speaker form that I have is Joe Murray. Joe.
Good morning. My name is Joe Murick. I live on 17 3/4 off of Avenue B. I want to bring this to the attention of the Board of Supervisors. It's a very dangerous situation between County 16th and County 19th on Avenue B. People are speeding on that section of highway, and as of yet, 26 dogs have been killed, and numerous cats. Of course, animal control doesn't pick up cats. I just buried a cat the other day. He was left on the highway because they don't pick them up. And what concerns me is right on the corner of 17 3/4 and Avenue B, there's a church. There's also a bus stop where the school buses pick up kids. So in the morning, the kids congregate at that intersection. So right there is Indy 500. I mean, it's just a matter of time till a kid gets killed or an adult gets killed at that intersection. My suggestion is to put a 4-way stop there, because you have that big gap of road and those people just highball right down that road. Big trucks go down there too. So we have a church there with people, going to church. You got the bus stop there where they pick up kids. And you also have residents that's got to cross Avenue B to get their mail. In fact, I almost got hit trying to go across there to get my mail because these people are just highballing down there in the early morning and also in the evening. That's my suggestion, a 4-way stop that intersection. Of course, engineering says stop signs don't control speed. I beg to differ with them, because it'll break up that speed in the middle of between 16 and 19. I've told I've talked to the sheriff about it, the captain over there, and I guess he, had a radar over there, but that has to be constantly patrolled out there, especially in the morning When people go to work, those guys go down to the prison, they highball down that road down there, and people coming from San Luis going to work in the morning, highball going towards Yuma. So somebody's gonna get killed, and that's why I'm bringing it to the attention. So something's gotta be done. My suggestion, four-way stop between 16 and 19. That's gonna break up that Indy 500 there where they gotta stop. And it's very important at that corner because, like I said, you have kids that get picked up by the bus there. So, you know, if we don't do something about it, it's gonna be a blood on your hands when some kids get killed, some kid gets killed. That's why I'm bringing it to your attention. If nothing's done, I will come to every board meeting and I will be here every time to stress that. Because I don't want some young kid to get killed, okay? And, you know, I also, there was also a light pole up there close to that intersection that had a light on it. They put new lines up there, they took the light off. I've already emailed engineering about that. So there should be a light there also. So that's my main concern, you know, and like I said, a four-way stop is gonna stop them from going 90 miles an hour. I was there the other day and I talked to animal control. There was a guy that passed 6 cars on that highway going to, I guess, San Luis. In fact, he passed me. I was doing about 45. He must have been going 90. He passed 6 cars. Now, can you imagine if there was a little kid or something crossing the street or somebody going to get their mail?
All
It's
right.
an accident waiting to happen.
Thank you, Joe, and we'll direct staff to look into this. And
Yeah, I'm gonna follow up and I'm coming to every meeting until you guys do something about this,
All right,
okay?
thank you.
So you're held accountable as well as me, okay?
All right, thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you.
No, yeah. Anybody else from the public that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, I will go ahead and leave the call to the public open till the end of the meeting, and we'll move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustments. No legal actions will be taken. Question on that, Ian. When we do appointments, like for the Planning and Zoning or Parks and Recs Commission, do we just appoint them here, or do we, it takes another meeting to put them on the agenda?
All the rest of the
So,
agenda
Mr.
items.
Chairman, only Board of Adjustments and Planning and Zoning Commission can be made during this item.
Okay,
Other items need to be agendized.
all right. Thank you. And we'll move on to, anybody has any appointments, or? We'll move on to item number 1, presentation of the Yuma County Quarterly Excellence Award.
Good morning, Chairman Porteous, members of the board, Ian McGahee, County Administrator. As you know, safety is a priority for Yuma County. We strive to ensure that county employees have a safe, secure, and healthy place to work. The success of Yuma County and Superior Court is a direct result of the hard work and dedication our employees show day in and day out. This Safety Excellence Award recognizes county employees who consistently promote safety in the workplace. Any employee can nominate another employee for the award. All nominations are reviewed, and the committee selects the winner. Nominees are recognized in the UCount newsletter. They receive a certificate of achievement, a challenge coin, a safety pen, and an Arctic mug. The winner of the Safety Excellence Award will receive an Arctic safety tumbler and a check for $100. All nominees will be automatically entered to win the annual Safety Excellence Award with a prize of $250. I'll now hand it over to Safety Program Technician Monica Escalante to introduce this quarter's nominees.
Thank you, Chairman and Board. I am pleased to recognize all the Safety Excellence nominees for the fourth quarter of 2023 and announce a winner. Today, we will be recognizing 2 employees who were nominated for the months of October through December 2023. Please step forward when your name is called to recognize our Safety Excellence Award nominees. Cynthia Romero. Please approach the podium. Cynthia serving the Senior Recording Technician and Recording Supervisor in the Recorder's Department for 2.5 years and with the county for 4 years. Cynthia has actively addressed safety concerns from identifying trip hazards to revising the emergency fire drill checklist. Cynthia has taken proactive measures to enhance safety. She has also addressed garage door trap hazards, an awareness bulletin board, and developed safe mail handling protocols, consistently advocating for workplace safety. Thank you, Cynthia, for your dedication.
Thank you.
Ahorita nos vamos a tomar una foto. Thank you. Good, congratulations.
Our next nominee. Our next nominee, Billy Pfizer, please approach the podium. Billy has served as a highway maintenance supervisor in Public Works for 7 months and with the county for 6 years. On December 26, 2023, while driving between Mohawk and Dayland, Billy encountered a 2-car accident involving a young woman heading eastbound on I-8. Billy arrived promptly, assessed the situation, and sat with her to keep her calm until emergency personnel arrived. Billy understands the importance of safety in our field, emphasizes safety to East County crew, and leads by example. He has received training in first aid CPR and stop the bleed for handling such situations. Thank you, Billy, for your dedication.
Thank you for your take a picture.
We have such deserving nominees, and it is very difficult to select just one winner. After much deliberation, the committee has selected the winner. I am pleased to announce our Safety Excellence Award recipient for the fourth quarter of calendar year 2023. Please join me in congratulating Cynthia Romero.
Take a picture.
That young lady that Billy helped was Madison, my granddaughter.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he didn't know it when he went up there, but she was so happy to see him. That accident was my granddaughter. So, and he didn't know it.
All right, if I can get everybody to come this way a little bit.
Oh, I'm going one way.
All right. All right, big smiles, everybody. 1, 2, 3. There we go. A couple more. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I get one more with just the winner?
Just the winner?
One more with just the winner,
One
yes.
with just the winner. One with just the winner.
Just with you?
What?
The winner? The winner?
You get
The winner.
Everybody and highlight the winner.
We all have our little spots here.
Perfect, already. If everybody can look this way, Supervisor Reyes this way.
That way.
Over here. Over here, there we go. All right. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
She's messing with us today.
Wait,
You okay there in the
I'm okay then. Gotta point the other way. All right.
To move on to item number 2, Chairman proclaims March 16, 2024 to be Relay for Life Carnival for a Cure Day in Yuma County. And Supervisor Lynn.
Thank you. Proclaiming the day of March 16, 2024 to be Relay for Life Carnival for a Cure Day in Yuma County. Whereas the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life in Yuma County is a community event that allows an opportunity to network with businesses, associates, family, and friends in the battle against cancer. And whereas cancer is a group of diseases characterized by uncontrolled growth and spread of abnormal cells, which, if not controlled, can result in premature death. And whereas cancer is predicted to strike 1 out of every 3 Americans sometime in our lifetime, with an estimated 42,670 new cases of cancer diagnosed and approximately 13,280 citizens expected to lose their battle with cancer in Arizona in 2024. And whereas the color purple is the signature color of the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life events, signifying the passion that cancer survivors and their families and loved ones feel for the this devastating disease, eradication of this devastating disease. Whereas the Relay for Life of Yuma County event financially benefits the American Cancer Society's research and patient support programs and serves to educate our local citizenry regarding cancer. Now, therefore, the day of March 16, 2023 is hereby proclaimed to be Relay for Life Carnival for a Cure Day in Yuma County. And I encourage citizens come out to help fight cancer from every angle by participating in the Relay for Life event at the Desert Sun Stadium, 1280 West Desert Sun Drive in Yuma, Arizona on March 16, 2024, starting at 11 a.m. It is an amazing event.
And we have Amber
Sorry.
Thornton
Yes.
here with us. Go ahead, Amber.
Well, I thank the commission for approving our proclamation. This is my 3rd year chairing this event, and I just hope that you guys all come out and participate that day as we celebrate our survivors, remember those that we've lost, and fight back against cancer in Yuma County.
Yes.
Well, thank you for what you do, and it is, like Lynn said, it is a great event. I mean, you know, people out there, they walk. I've done it a couple years. I know they stopped doing it because of the COVID, but there was one time that I walked pretty much the whole night.
Oh, wow.
And I had my sisters doing flour tortillas there, so we.
Oh, wow.
Our event does have the best food in all of
It does have great food.
Yeah,
Great homemade food.
No
Yes.
advertising.
Let's go.
So we'll get this.
Election day, bro.
Go vote.
We gotta line up the other way.
Oh, look at this, beautiful.
I'm always facing the wrong way.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much.
Body face that way. then.
Thank you.
A little weird to stand facing the other way.
Thank you. And you'll be able to read it that day?
Yes.
So many times.
I can have it. I can have it.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Fantastic.
Thanks. See you.
Okay, only if you insist.
Huh?
If you insist.
Okay. Yeah. It's easier to get through then. I had that down
We'll
too.
move on
Yes.
to item number 3, presentation of the mix with Yuma County. County by Yuma.
Governor Katie Hobbs delivers a tailored State of the State speech to Yuma County residents. We'll take a closer look at the annual Ammonia Day event educating locals on safety. We delve into the tax lien auction impacting property owners, and a colossal crane arrives for the new administration building. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs delivered a tailored State of the State speech focusing specifically on the region of Yuma County. The event offered insights into the current state of affairs, highlighting accomplishments, addressing challenges, and outlining forthcoming plans that directly impact the residents of Yuma County. The speech held significant importance to the community as it provided a platform to address local concerns, celebrate achievements, and present strategies for continued progress. Among those in attendance were community leaders, business representatives, government officials, and concerned citizens. Yuma County, known for agriculture, educates on ammonia safety through Ammonia Days. The event, a collaboration of local businesses, public safety, and government, highlights ammonia use and safety. Experts discuss exposure, refrigeration, and response. This effort is part of the county's broader emergency preparedness. Supporting the community includes paying taxes, but consequences await delinquent owners. After exhaustive efforts to reconcile, Yuma County may sell liens to investors who then cover the owed taxes. The Yuma County Treasurer conducted a tax lien auction on February 22nd for interested investors. Though selling liens is a last resort, it prevents additional burden on compliant taxpayers. Tax liens efficiently collect delinquencies for all county taxing districts, ensuring fiscal responsibility. Amidst the construction of the new administration building, a colossal crawler crane made its mark on the site. With a towering height exceeding 200 feet above ground and a length stretching to an impressive 260 feet, its presence was unmistakable. Equipped with a remarkable reach of 160 feet across buildings and lifting capacity exceeding 8 tons, this mechanical marvel stood ready to support the project's ambitious endeavor. Anticipated to remain stationed until June 2024, it symbolized the dedication to progress in the construction of the new administration building. That's all I have for you today, but now we're gonna go to Gaston Park with Oscar.
Thanks, Arlene. So it is the most perfect day here in Yuma, Arizona, and I'm about to grant you an exclusive VIP access into what amenities and services Yuma County Parks has to offer. Hey, what's up, Jacob?
Hey, how's it going, Oscar?
Good, how are you?
Likewise, very good.
Good, thanks. Yeah, so we're on location at one of Yuma County's parks.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about the parks that we have available here in our county.
So here in the county, we have 4 parks available to our community. Gadsden Park, which we're at right now. We have the Foothills Optimist Park in the Mesa del Sol neighborhood. We have the Kiwanis Park in Tacna and the brand new Foothills facility.
Wow, I had no idea that those are all available. I see that there's a lot of amenities here. Like, what can I expect when I visit these parks?
So we have playgrounds, restrooms available, ramadas, basketball courts, volleyball court, and a baseball, kickball area also.
Wow, it sounds like you can spend your whole day here, especially on a day like this.
Yes.
So you said a Ramada. What's the information? Like, how do I reserve one? What's the cost?
The Ramadas right now are first come, first served basis.
Absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
So I can have a party here. I don't have to contact anyone to reserve it in advance.
Nobody. Just be the first one here.
All great information, Jacob. Thank you. Also, one thing to keep in mind is Gadsden Park is the only park that has operable restrooms, as I hear.
Yes, that is correct. Gadsden Park is the only one with restrooms. The new Phil Hills Park will have restrooms, but not until phase 2 is complete.
Sounds great. So make sure to plan accordingly when you visit the parks. Well, have a great afternoon, Jacob. I appreciate all your time.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah, see you later. All right, Arlene, I hope you enjoyed that exclusive VIP look into Yuma County Parks. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Oscar. I had no idea Yuma County had so many amazing parks. Now we're gonna go with Carla with a special kudos today.
Thank you, Arlene, and everyone, welcome back to Kudos with Carla. Today, I don't only have one, but I have 2 kudos to send. Help me congratulate Cynthia Romero, our Safety Excellence Award. Congratulations for taking so many steps to make sure Recorders was the safest place to be. And a big shout out to Employee Relations who put together a Show the Love gram. Over 5,200 grams were sent to all Yuma County and Court employees, and the winner, who was able to send 190 grams, is JP3, with a total of 6 employees in this office. Congratulations. And that is all I have for you guys today. Back to you, Arlene, in the studio.
Thank you, Carla, for highlighting all the great employee efforts that we go through Yuma County. Thank you for joining us on The Mix.
Where are the donuts? There was a lot of donuts in there. I didn't get to see any. We lost them, we picked them up.
Nice to see the park highlighted. That Gadsden Park is it's a nice park. I used to rent that or get that park for my kids' birthdays. So.
I think Louis Gradius will remember. You have to reserve it from Louis. Kudos to Louis. He kept that.
Yeah, he took care of that for many years.
We'll go ahead and move on to consent agenda. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. Unless a board member so requests, in that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. And I have items 1 to 9.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 1 through 9 with the exception of item number 3. I have a question.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. There's a motion and a second to approve item 1 to 9 with the exception of 3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Clerk of the board, approve the minutes for February 5th.
I asked for item number 3. I have a question. Now, the amended handout, do we have to like approve the handout, or is it legal to sort of change it and go through this, or do we have to like say the amended minutes? Because the ones that were proposed, I suppose, were the original ones, weren't they?
Correct. You can approve this item with the February 5th, 2024 minutes as amended. Only 2 pages had changes, which were included in a handout with the red lines. And the last page with the signature included some of the additional information in the chart, which reflected the San Luis.
No, I understand that. The question was, okay, this is an amended item. Do we need to approve it like separately? Like the motion should be approve item number 3 as amended. Can't just be approved, as part of a bunch, right?
Yes, please.
We could have, but just say item number 3 with the amendment.
Right, well, I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 3 as amended.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 3 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, Human Resources appoint Desiree Gunderman as the Yuma County Clerk of the Board of
You're
Supervisors
right.
to replace Ian
As clerk. To replace the as clerk.
McCarthy as Clerk of the Board, and authorize the County Administrator to execute all necessary documents for employment. I said, oh, we're gonna replace Ian, but.
Bring her out.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ian McGahee, County Administrator, and for maybe a little while longer, Clerk of the Board. 34-year county employee, Christy Isbell, who is with us this morning, recently announced her upcoming retirement from the position of Deputy Clerk of the Board, with her last day to be April 30th. That's certainly going to be a sad day for us, maybe not for Christy, but we'll be talking more about that in a couple of weeks to come.
We haven't let her go yet.
We're not going to let her go yet this morning. However, this upcoming change presented an opportunity to reevaluate the Clerk of the Board and the 2 Deputy Clerk of the Board positions. Currently, as the Chairman just stated, the County Administrator serves in the capacity of Clerk of the Board with no additional benefits or compensation. It's been that way since 2009. After a detailed review with cooperation with the County Attorney's Office and Yuma County Human Resources, it was determined to make the Clerk of the Board a separate standalone position from the County Administrator. This change puts us in line with 12 other Arizona counties and with state statute. Once that decision was made, of course, it allowed the county to begin the recruitment of a new Clerk of the Board. So a 5-person panel made up of Human Resources Director Jessica Rodriguez, Deputy Clerk of the Board Christy Isbell, Deputy County Attorney Minda Davey, Deputy County Administrator Josh Scott, and myself interviewed 4 candidates for the position. And the unanimous selection of the panel is Desiree Gunderman, who currently works as an administrative assistant at Arizona Western College and previously at Shasta College in California. Ms. Gunderman has valuable experience in agenda preparation, minutes, open meetings law, and records management. If confirmed by the board, she'll have the opportunity to train with Christy for a few weeks. The only downside, as Supervisor Pancrazzi mentioned, is now we would have 2 Desirees in administration, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. So, Ms. Gunderman, would you like to come up?
Can we have a 1 and a 2? Any relation to Sharon?
Shannon?
Shannon? Any relation to Shannon?
Yes, Reyes
Okay.
Pancrazzi.
That's not a usual last name.
Yes, that is my uncle.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Porches and members of the board. I'm excited to be here and bring some experience to help serve in the laws.
What does a clerk do that's separate than the administrator?
Well, I came prepared.
Such a question?
Stop me if this
No,
gets
it's
too
too
much.
long.
I'll read it, but please. The Clerk of the Board is a county officer and is the official record keeper of all business conducted by the Board of Supervisors, as opposed to the county administrator, who's a contract employee. The Clerk of the Board is subject to statutory requirements of county officers, unlike the county administrator. Unlike contractual duties of the Clerk of the Board are defined by statute. There's a number of them. Record all proceedings of the board, make full entries of the board's resolutions and decisions on all questions concerning the raising of money for and the allowance of accounts against the county, record the vote of each member on every question upon which there's a division or at the request of any member present, sign all orders made and warrants issued by order of the board for payment of money, record the reports of the county treasurer and all the receipts and disbursements of the county, preserve and file all accounts acted upon by the board, preserve and file all petitions and record the actions of the board thereon, record all orders levying taxes, perform all other duties required by law or order of the board, such as preserving past records, managing tax appeals, and assisting special districts. It is physically impossible for the county administrator to execute the above duties or provide sufficient supervision together when executing the county administrator's contractual duties, such as carrying out policies and goals, providing information to the Board of Supervisors, overseeing all non-elected official operations and management of legislative and intergovernmental needs, and delegating all the duties to deputies defeats the purpose of having a clerk of the board. Having the same person serve as administrator and clerk of the board does not provide a check and balance mechanism for transparency and accountability that would exist with 2 separate positions.
Want me to
You
keep
could have
going?
done without that, but it's okay. I get it.
And you explained that and she didn't run out the door, so that's good.
Did you realize you're gonna have to do all those things? All right. Okay, well, again, welcome to the team. I realize that the administrator doesn't have to physically do a lot of this stuff. He can get the assistance of someone else to take care of it. Just that I thought that you need an appointment for that. I thought you could just simply, as a city as an administrator, sort of give out those tracks to somebody else.
This is a
Like you have
board,
done for kids.
sorry, Supervisor Reyes, this is a board-appointed position, so it comes from me.
Got it.
Any other questions for Desiree? Well, welcome again.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Desiree Gunner as the clerk of the board.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to appoint Desiree Gunderman as the Yuma County Clerk of the Board of Supervisors. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, welcome.
Got to ask how much she was making, but we did that for nothing.
We didn't hold her uncle against her.
Moving on to item number 2, approve the following amendments as recommended by the Human Resources resulting from the Yuma County Superior Court Compensation Study. Yuma County Superior Court Compensation Study effective March 3, 2024. A, approve amendments to the regular county step pay plan, selected law enforcement pay plan, and the judicial pay plan to be known as the county pay plan, selected law enforcement pay plan, and the judicial pay plan. Are we going to approve all of them together or one by one?
I believe that you can approve them all together, but they are individual pay plans.
Okay. And B, approve the grade and salary adjustments for all full-time and part-time Yuma County Superior Court and law enforcement employees onto their respective pay plans. And C, approve the necessary budget authority from reserves and contingency to implement the aforementioned amendments to the Yuma County pay plans and grade and salary adjustments. Jessica.
Good morning, Chairman Porteous, members of the board. Jessica Rodriguez, Human Resources Director. I am here today excited to present to you the final results of our compensation study. We have been working diligently with public sector personnel consultants for over 8 months to come to you today with these results. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Matthew Weatherly, who is the president of Public Personnel Consultants, and he will be here to present the data and any information that you need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Chairman, Supervisors. Good to see you again. We visited in December at your retreat, so we have kind of a final bow to put on our study findings and recommendations. I'll move fairly swiftly through a brief presentation here, just as a reminder for you and for the audience in terms of our scope of work. High level, you do these really to answer 2 questions. How are we doing at recruiting and retaining staff? How are we doing at being consistent in offering wages for all employees that are included in this exercise? Reaffirming or establishing a market position, trying to get at least a market average, not just on paper with salary scales, but also with salaries. So it's kind of a layered approach. So I have some findings from that we'll speak to. The goal, again, being under that broader umbrella of recruitment and retention. We've completed a salary survey. We have drafted updated salary tables. There's more changes to salaries than there are to salary tables. However, the county's adopted open range salary schedule replaces a grade and step scale. So very different look from what the current structure offers. The comparison agencies, which we visited about, maybe it was at August, September, I can't remember, somewhere in there, kind of gave us the green light to go collect salary plans, job descriptions, organization charts, and data, really to build out and answer that first question. How are we doing on our salary structures compared to those that either have jobs like ours, services like ours, or that we're directly competing with for staff? Obviously, there's a local flavor there.
Good question, just right off the bat.
why do we include California? California doesn't have anything to do with our economy.
Yeah, you approved that list 8 months ago.
Just wanted the explanation.
Yeah. They have jobs like ours, right? And the challenge, obviously, is they're probably, at least Imperial for sure, is closer than Coconino. I mean, just to kind of throw it out there. So obviously exercising an abundance of caution, we're not looking at total comp, pension liability. That would really move the needle, I think, with respect to cost to employer. But looking at other agencies that are either like size and or have like services. Ironically, both of the counties in California, currently their salary structures are in line, if not a little bit lower than the average of what we're seeing in these particular instances. So fortunately, we're not bullied around by significant cost of living differences. Otherwise, I think we'd be making some just blanket adjustments to that data to bring it in. So.
On the same lines, the city of Phoenix is way larger than the city of San Luis.
Yeah, we had to exercise some caution, certainly at the director level and at the management level, when we start to look at agencies where span of control, scope, budget, for those maybe top 10 to 15 positions that are included in the study. We're certainly very cautious about what level of data we pull from a Phoenix, even from a Maricopa County, to an extent, because there are some size-sensitive positions in here. The larger focus and sensitivity, frankly, when we establish a salary plan for probably 80 to 90% of your positions, includes the city of Yuma, the city of Somerton, the city of San Luis, the local private sector. So office and clerical, labor and trades, professional and technical positions, those are likely going to be filled, recruited, populated by individuals that are not relocating to Yuma County to take your position. Layered that in, obviously, with some other local presence like the school district, the proving grounds. The feds have a presence here. Border Patrol has a presence here. As we certainly look into law enforcement as well, a sensitivity to where we get people and where we lose people, as kind of rounding out that list. Certainly going forward, the goal is to have an established baseline that we can hit repeat and hit refresh, on to kind of gauge market movement. And my hope certainly is that 2024 and beyond is a little bit less volatile than 2023. There was extraordinary growth really in reaction to inflation that occurred maybe over the last 18 months that hopefully on a 5 or 7 year arc looks a little bit more like an exception rather than a norm. Okay. The movement that we're looking for here is to, one, get salaries competitive, but you first do that with salary structures. I'm going to flip that around a little bit because your current salary structures look pretty good. Your salary ranges are fairly competitive, especially at the top of the range. Your ranges are a little bit wider for county civilian employees, so general staff on the county side, that range with the 60% wide. That's a very, very wide pay range according to market. So too in Superior Court, those salary ranges are 70% wide. And so we can accidentally have some artificially low lows and some artificially high highs in that number. But punchline here, over 80% of the county's pay ranges are competitive. Just about 70% of Superior Court's pay ranges are competitive within plus or minus 5%. Law enforcement also looks really good at the top end, but the theme for all three groups, so county employees, Superior Court employees, sworn law enforcement employees, you have a great salary structure and everybody's closer to the bottom of it. On average, your employees have better than 5 years in their position. In a lot of instances, your employees are on average between step 4.5 and step 5.5. And this is on a 25-step structure for county civilians. This is on a 70% range width for Superior Court. So actual salaries are not quite keeping up with, I wouldn't say your own structure, they're within your current structure. However, that structure is very wide, and we've not succeeded at getting people moving through that structure. That direct result can be seen really over the last 18 months. Not to say that any one segment is experiencing a higher amount of turnover, but what this does cause is compression or a little bit of discomfort when we have to hire a new hire at minimum or just above minimum, and suddenly our existing workforce with an average of 5 years or better in job are really only a couple of steps above that. And so we're trying to create some separation and range penetration, we'll call it, throughout the structure. We're moving to a proposed open range scale for all positions, including county civilian. This is probably the most dramatic adjustment out of all of our recommendations, and that is doing away with the step scale for county civilians, moving to an open range scale with a minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum, very similar to Superior Court. At the same time, we are narrowing up the salary structure. We're going to go to 50% wide instead of 60 or 70% wide. In some instances, the maximums do not move very much when we do this. The minimums do. When we recalculate a midpoint, those move as well. Your top outs for a lot of your positions are pretty healthy, pretty competitive. So we tried not to reduce those. However, in some instances, there's a little bit of movement. But globally, on paper, those range widths are going to narrow. And now we're going to try and get people into those pay ranges commensurate with their time and job. We're also recommending a market-based law enforcement pay scale, fewer steps, much more competitive entry, and the intent of moving individuals into this structure commensurate with their current time in rank. So a new employee, bringing them in at step 1 with no experience is perfectly appropriate. A current employee with 4 or 5 years, I do not want to leave them at step 1 if we can avoid it, right? And that's where some of our proposed implementation cost is going, is really taking those current employees that are, let's just pick on one, maybe a deputy sheriff. You have some that are currently at $58,000, $59,000 a year that have been with the county for 2 to 4 years. If we hire a new one next week on this new plan, we're suddenly paying a brand new recruit the same as that 2 or 4 year deputy. I'm trying to avoid that, so I'm going to move them into this plan a little bit further. For implementation purposes, again, we're intending to alleviate compression. We set basically a kind of a mathematical trap that ensures range penetration at 3% per year. Now, this is a shift, and it could be a shift going forward for how you allocate budgeted funds for salary administration. Historically, when you have approved cost of living adjustments or salary increases on July 1, which have all been incredibly appropriate, the scale has moved the same amount as the employees. And so those employees have not gained on that current scale. What we would propose would be salary administration that would depart slightly from that methodology. You can apply smaller cost of living adjustments to the scale as long as the employees see that and more. Now, we're not proposing you really spend any differently in terms of, hey, this year we can afford a 3%, or we can afford a 4%, or we can afford a 5%. But next year, maybe don't apply all 5 to the scale. Apply it to salaries, but people are going to move further along. Similar on that step plan that we showed for law enforcement, when you budget, you can budget for a step and make some modest adjustments to those salary schedules according to cost of living, according to CPI. So future goal here, we want employee salaries to outpace how fast the scale moves so that people can realize the middle or beyond of that pay range. That leaves room for new hires. That rewards our journey level competent performers that are staying with us by ensuring that they're not stuck in the first quartile of those pay structures. Future planning includes us working with human resources to reestablish promotional guidelines, guidelines for new hire placement when somebody comes to us with 1, 3, 5 years of experience, again, driven around a sensitivity of not causing compression. Okay. Everything that we're going to talk about as far as fiscal impact is obviously, generally when our firm shows up, it's above and beyond, right? It's past the cost of living you did on July 1, or it might be past even a promotional increase or a meritorious increase within a salary range. These are market-driven corrections. We are trying to pay our journey level competent performer nearer to market. We are proposing, like I said, that 3% per year. There may be some employees that are already at or exceeding that pace. They would not see anything in this adoption of this plan. So there are plenty of employees that are in good shape, but there are several that are not. There are several that are very low in their range in spite of quite a bit of time in their job. County and judicial, we've got an estimate of about $4 million annually. 700 plus employees would see at least a 2% adjustment. About 250 would not see any adjustment. Just kind of back of pocket to keep in mind. Living wage, cost of living, has really dominated a lot of conversation, at least in our world, over the last 18 months. You do and will still have about 8 employees that are below $16 an hour. So adopting this plan gets almost everybody up to at least 16 an hour, which is being both Alice and MIT's estimate for Yuma County living wage. So we may want to look at those 8 remaining people that are fairly low and get them up to that 16 number, just a kind of a low cost thing, but maybe a new temporary floor as we look at what is a reasonable cost of living. For law enforcement, yep, go ahead.
On those, so if we approve the plan as it's presented, you're saying we will still have 8 people below the $16 hour?
Yeah, so absent having had a chance to visit a little bit, jurisdictions are starting to contemplate something that looks like an established, hey, our full-time employees X, right? About 4 years ago now, Pima County had gone to 15, which meant the city followed suit, which meant the school district tried to follow suit. But certainly there are positions where there's a little bit higher turnover, and trying to establish some type of living wage floor. But I just bring that up just because we're making gains, there, but there are a handful of people that are still there.
One more. And and this is for the board, and I know, I don't know if Ian, well, I believe he's heard me before, but every year in the past that we would talk about the budget, I would always ask, why does the county still has employees that are being hired at the minimum wage? And it's happened. I don't know why, and I was against that, and I recommended we would approve. I believe, I think last year Jessica did or moved on, and we got away from that. But I don't think this is when that salary or the state passed the increments, hourly wage passed. We should have moved on since then. There's no reason why we should have been keep hiring employees at a minimum wage. Yeah. But
yeah, that's a couple dollars, I believe, above the adopted state minimum wage, but certainly hiring wise, I'm happy to defer to staff if they have.
And the question is, what is minimum wage?
Is it
in the state of Arizona?
$14.35 now.
$14.35. And and you're asking us basically to move everybody up from whatever salary they have. There's currently 46 people who are under that, or under 16, excuse me. You're basically asking us to set up 16 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah, that's not necessarily in our proposed recommendations for adoption, but I'm just calling it to your attention because right behind all of those individuals that have 5 to 7 years.
You don't have anyone that works for below minimum wage. Right?
Correct.
Because that's state law.
Right.
That's state law. So, and maybe the board has moved into a more progressive stance, but in the past, we always talked about giving employees a cost of living sort of increase, and then adding some funds so we could have some sort of hybrid that reflects the private sector, which means, there's some people who go well above beyond what their salary is. And we wanted to have, at least at the time that we did this, we wanted to have a little bit of funds set aside so we can move people, certain people who have done outstanding jobs, move them up a little bit. Because I don't know, this deal about lifting everybody's pay by the same scale works well. It doesn't reward, excellence. So in your market analysis, you are certainly not taking those into account. You're just simply bringing us up to
That is correct, but the system will be a little bit more flexible now should you move to something that is a pay for performance. A lot has to go right, for pay for performance, to work.
That was my
question.
Yeah. Is this getting us closer to a situation where we can look at pay for performance in a more?
It will. It will certainly not prevent you from administering salary adjustments according to individual employee performance. We have the blessing as a third party of not knowing, anybody, and so objectively, trying to establish some very consistent rules to ensure first our pay grades are, at market average. Absent obviously, a specific stated word by word philosophy policy that says we want to be at the market of X or X percent of, these 5 or 10 comparators or that kind of thing.
But to me, law enforcement is almost no. There's almost no way we'll ever keep up. It's like following a greyhound being.
Yep. It's a track meet.
Yeah, it's a track meet.
It's a track meet.
We've got so much law enforcement around here that it's difficult. Anytime you offer better benefits or better pay, starting pay or better pay, the Border Patrol, the Homeland Security, or the DPS, they'll go up and just beat you to it.
Yep.
You start off again.
Yep.
But not that it's not bad. I mean, same thing happens with nurses and so specific trades. It's not necessarily bad. It's actually good for people who do those kind of jobs.
Yeah, hard to fill by definition means supply and demand wins, right? Just every time. So
right.
Yeah, 100%. Our punchline at the bottom, estimated $5.2 million plus benefits for a full year. Our proposed implementation, the balance cost there would be 1.7 for the remainder of 2024. You had set aside funds above and beyond your July 1 across the board adjustments and cost of living adjustments to implement the results of this study. The result will be bringing those journey level employees closer to market averages, which is the midpoint or the mid-range, with a, like I said, slightly more dramatic adjustment moving away from a step plan to an open range plan for county civilian employees. This will create, I think, also a little bit more flexibility for you all in your annual budgeting, should you choose to move towards pay for performance. Generally, you're still going to look at market, such as inflation or cost of living, and combine those two. So it could be in the future something that looked like a market plus merit budget with an all-in percentage. Some years you have to pour it all into market. In other years, you may have plenty to allocate towards merit.
What is load rate?
Load rate would be plus benefits. So if I touch your salary, what else goes up? Whether it's Social Security or pension or retirement or those kinds of things.
Mr. Chairman, in your market study, did you take into account the benefit package that is, because we have a pretty rich benefit package, and how does that compare to the other counties that you compared us with?
Yeah, and
a lot of people come here for the benefits, right?
Yeah, 100%. And so those comparisons did stay in state. To your earlier question about California, benefits don't cross state lines, quite as well. But looking at health insurance contributions, paid time off, other elements like that, there's kind of a cost of being a public employer, right? There's an expectation, I think, a little bit. Not to say that I'm going to forego salary for benefits, but we looked, and very similar to an audit, kind of a lack of findings there, where you're in line with what these other agencies are offering. Yeah, the pension kind of washes out as far as everybody's contributions, and it really starts to come down to if there's other ad pay or certification pay or incentives, that kind of thing, and then paid time off, and then the health insurance. How much are we paying for dependents by dollar, by percentage? And I'll stop. I'm not an actuary, but certainly being able to say, hey, here's what we offer. Here's how much we pay towards an employee or towards a dependent, that kind of thing.
So the health benefits were not taken into account?
We have all of that information and we did collect it, right? So this is neutral buoyancy. So, really even on paper, if I added, for example, the top of your range plus your benefits, that math isn't going to change from your current standing. What we're really trying to achieve is getting people further into your pay plan. I think I have just a couple more slides. We had a chance, and Human Resources really took the lead on kind of independently taking notes for us and visiting with each department, each elected office to vet out all of our proposed recommendations. So those changes have been incorporated. And as I mentioned, we'll continue to work towards policies and procedures that are impacted by moving to an open range plan, moving towards a goal of not turning around and losing ground on range penetration and preventing compression. Okay. I'll stop there in case there are any other questions or comments that we didn't address.
Any other questions?
More like a comment. I have yet to see a market study that doesn't indicate that you have to move some people up. The problem is, once you do that, and there's this competitive situation, we have 3 different pay plans here. We have one for the court system, one for the regular employees, and one for the law enforcement people. So difficult to try to keep fairness between them because they do different jobs at different levels of risk, different levels of things. So it helps to sort of bring everyone up, but it creates some discrepancies that later on we get.
Yeah, and it is a job by job type of, right? So the something for everybody already occurred in July. and potentially will occur again this July. So this is a little bit separate from that, in as much that we did have some jobs that were low and some that were fine. Those jobs that were low, those ranges need to come up, and then we start to scrutinize where everybody is in those ranges.
But I guess the bottom line for me is that we will do the adjustments that we need to do, but then we'll end up dealing with individual sections of during the process that we go through budgets. We'll end up dealing with the paper performance issues as opposed to just simply market analysis.
Sure. Yeah, I think the market side of it, if we were to characterize that as CPI or as a COLA or something like that, that can be pretty stable, I think, across the 3 salary scales. Now, disclaimer, law enforcement, to your point, kind of moves in its own orbit. But the relative CPI and cost of living index should be very consistent. We've modeled Superior Court pay ranges to match county salary ranges with a goal of parity, particularly for those non-size sensitive positions. We don't want to see one stealing from the other, for their line staff, kind of thing. So what we have modeled out, ensures that as far as in our drafts go. And then, the application of salary adjustments going forward may still come down to, hey, you budget a certain amount, we'll let those individual entities decide how you're going to administer that. But the broader goal would be, let's keep people moving faster than scales is really our recommendation.
Any other
questions for? Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I do see, hey, Jessica, you want to add anything?
Chairman Porches, members of the board, I would just like to take this moment to say thank you for all of your time and consideration. This has been a very long journey for us. And as Matt said, I have met individually with each department and county elected office to ensure that they understand the methodology that Matt and his team is presenting today, and that they also understand the grading placements of their employees and the salaries that will be moving. So with all of that work that we have done, our employees are graciously waiting for your vote today in hopes that we can approve this and move forward with the implementation process.
Well, Jessica, I don't know about the gracious part, but they're certainly waiting.
Yes.
Some of them have made it clear they're not very gracious about waiting.
Yes.
At least to me.
Just a question, Jessica. I know when we agreed for this compensation study to happen, but I'm pretty sure all the employees knew about it or they found out. But I know you met with the directors from each department. Were any of the employees involved, or was their staff, or did they know, or was the message really being related to them?
So we were mindful in the messaging to the employees. We didn't want to provide them with any information that could have changed. This was a moving target for a long period of time, and we didn't want to create scenarios where employees lost trust in what we were doing for them. And so we waited and met with individual department heads and their elected officials as well and communicated that information. We did not communicate salaries because we knew that that would change. We communicated grading placements and the methodology used with the department heads. Our plan now that once this is approved, hopefully it will be approved once this is over, we would be able to meet with the employees as well then to determine or to tell them where their compensation will be moving and answer any questions that they may have on how they were placed on the grade of their new position.
You?
No. I have a question for Tony.
Oh, thank you, Jessica.
Okay, thank you.
Tony what? Tony Strzok?
Yes.
Tony, you
Tony,
up?
we put you on the hot seat, Tony?
That's what you share a last name with Tony. And you said, Tony, what?
What do I have to do with it? I asked Ian 2 questions because the costs essentially will be borne by the taxpayers. All of this is county taxes that are collected in order to pay salaries. So how do we be fair to the taxpayers? How do we be fair to the employees? Because I'd like to achieve both of those. What's the sustainability, and can we guarantee at our current levels that we will not have to raise county taxes?
I say for sustainability with the long-range model that we put together, we assumed 3% increases per year. We also incorporated in the impact of this, and for the next, over the next 5 years, when you look at long-range planning, the next 5 years is where it stays fairly strong. So the next 5 years to 7 years, we're definitely, the fund balances do start decreasing a little bit, but it's still well above what our board policy is for maintaining fund balance. So, and the tax rate stays the same throughout that whole time period. So maybe you can never guarantee that taxes can't be raised, but depending on the economy and a lot of other factors.
I won't ever vote for taxes to be raised.
In 8 to 10 years, that potentially could happen, but I definitely don't foresee that in the next 5 years.
Do you have any caveats? Do you have any concerns in your modeling?
Not in my modeling, no. It does, it's very conservative on how that we do. We have always had reversions. We do budget some reversions for that, so we assume we're going to have savings. I think if you have full employment or fuller employment, your savings come down, but we've always had or typically had higher reversions than what we've had in the model. So the model is built very conservatively to make sure that you don't want to forecast something that you can't stand behind. And so I'm pretty comfortable with that.
So you fully recommend that it's sustainable at current levels?
Fully recommend based on the model and all the assumptions that we put in there that it is sustainable. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony. And I do see the judge here.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
And before you start, Judge, I just want to say, a while back, you were here in front of us and we had already talked about the compensation study, and I know the courts were moving, and at that time, I asked you if you could wait so we could do the whole, so I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
To let the whole, do one for the whole county, including the courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Porches, members of the board, County Administrator McGahee. It's been a long process. We did come last year, and we were asking, I think what we were asking for last year, this study confirms what we were saying, that we had ranges. The study showed our ranges were not as well within market as we thought they were. But what we knew was that we had employees who were not within the range. And this study confirms that. So we recommend that the board adopt the proposed ranges and classifications for court employees because it will provide long overdue salary advancement for court employees whose compensation has fallen far below fair market range. And last year, you said we would be happy in January. Well, it's March, and we're hoping that today we're happy. We are confident that as we've looked at the proposed ranges, we got this, the findings were given to us last Wednesday, and we've looked at them. And when I say we, I guess that's the royal we. My team has looked at the numbers, and we've talked about them. And we see some employees that we think there will need to be additional modifications, but we'll deal with those. We can do those through existing court personnel policies, the steps identified in the study on page 24, paragraph B, state law and court rules. But what we see is that this will help us get our employees to the range that they should be. I have a lot here. I'm going to kind of skip some of it. What the study showed is that about 32% of our ranges were low. I didn't think that last year. I thought our ranges were competitive. But what we did know was that none of our people were where they should be within the range. So if you have a third of your workforce range is low and they're not where they should be within the range, our employees are disadvantaged. And I think more disadvantaged than county employees. And I think if you look at the proposed increases, on average, court employees are getting more than county. And I think it is because they were more disadvantaged. And also one thing I'd point out, last year when you gave the 6%, we did not apply that to our ranges. We moved people within the range with that 6%. So that may also explain why the proposed increases tend to be higher for court than county. because last year the county did apply the 6% to their ranges. We're not asking for any modifications to the study. We would point out, well, I guess in the presentation today, they did show that the 32% of our ranges were below market. One of the positions, there are a couple of positions that are problematic for us, and my court administrator didn't want me to point this out, but
Kathy's shaking her head, Judge.
she doesn't want to do anything to mess this up. But the study showed that her position was 22% below market. And it shows that the survey midpoint for Superior Court Administrator is $174,413. The plan moves that midpoint to $160,128. So even adopting this plan, her position is still over 8% below market. And so there are some positions in the court that are still going to be below market.
Adult probation.
And we're going to move to address those going forward. I think the plan takes the position that it tries to get all employees at market. And most of the county positions were moved to where they're at market. I think they had approximately 24 positions that were under market. 20 of them are now at or above market. And there are some positions that are above market. And I'm not sure why that is, but there are some that are. And some of them substantially. So
I saw that too, that some of them should have come down, yeah.
Well, yes.
It shows that they are above that.
And I don't have the background data. We don't have the data sheets. The conclusion is that there are a number of positions that are, not just a little above market, but fairly substantially above market. And I don't know the explanation for that. I'll assure you that we have looked at all court employee positions, and we are not overcompensating any court employees with this plan. We're being faithful to the taxpayers. Nobody is getting overpaid in the courts. So at this point, please adopt the plan as it applies to the courts. We've needed it for a long time. It will help us as we seek to recruit and retain quality employees. And that's the court's position. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Any questions?
If you're ready, Mr. Chairman, it's a real complex plan, but I mean, a little complex motion, but I can handle it. If anybody else
I just, and I heard the judge, when you say disadvantaged employees, I just, because that disadvantage, I mean, that's a huge word there. I just, what do you?
For example, because a lot of this compensation is moving people within a range, we've had a few employees who have promoted, say, for example, I'll give one example that I'm familiar with because my judicial assistant recently, I think at the end of last year, promoted. We created a new position, became the judicial assistant supervisor. And before she promoted, she'd been in her position for 12 years, and she was making the same money as other employees, other judicial assistants who had been there similar amounts of time. Their salaries are almost identical. When she promoted, she got a raise. It was a modest raise, but now she's been in this position for 3 months. So if this plan goes into effect, the other judicial assistants who did not promote are going to get this big bump up and will actually be making more money than her, where she competed for a promotion, got it, and is now supervising them. And unless we make an adjustment, she's not going to be making as much money as the people she was promoted above and whom she supervises. So there are a few positions like that in the courts where we're going to have to look at those positions individually and make adjustments.
So you'll make adjustments?
Yes, we will make those adjustments.
All right, thank you.
We'll come with a personal action form and ask for budget authority to make those increases.
Thank you.
But that shouldn't hold this up. We're saying go forward.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
I have Mr. Chair, Jessica. I'm sorry. That's going to happen in several instances in the county and in the judicial, or just in the judicial?
Chairman Porches, Supervisor Pancrazi, the methodology that Judge Hawes is presenting has been supplied to county, and I have had an opportunity to look through what he's speaking on. And the county is not able to replicate that type of movement countywide. Essentially, what they're describing is compensating employees who have been promoted for that time and position, regardless of the promotion. So for example, the JA example that he gave, you're allowing that person total comp ratio percentage based off of time in two separate positions. And what we're trying to do is compensate employees based off of the time in their current position. Because in order to be at midpoint of a position, you need to be proficient in that particular position. We can't give credit for other positions for time used to get to a comp ratio to a midpoint. And so that's why the county is not able to produce or replicate that type of methodology. And I'm not willing to recommend that to Ian or to this board because I think that it's unorthodox and it's reckless.
But I mean, it'll continue, we'll look at those, or they'll be moving as we move along. Individual.
If we find employees who are within a chain of command who are making less money than a supervisor, absolutely, we would need to move those people. And we have done that already within the county.
So I'm sorry, so if you have somebody who's been with the county for 30 years in one position, but the supervisor doesn't want to be a supervisor, but the supervisor is promoted and this person is still making more than the supervisor, then you're going to adjust that, correct?
Correct.
Regardless of whether it's judicial, county, or law enforcement.
I can speak for county for county offices and departments. I would assume that they would do the same. Yes,
Okay.
We cannot have people making less than someone who if they're supervising a person. Yes,
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Right. So this market plan is going to help us two ways. One is it's going to bring as many people as we can to market. But the second one, if I heard correctly, was going to try to do away with a lot of the step process.
Mm-hmm.
Because the step process becomes an issue of seniority.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes an issue of time served, and then you get compensated the longer you work for the county. Then you move on to another position, and all of a sudden you've only been in that position for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. So when this market studies get done, the more positions, the more steps you have, the more likelihood that if you just move to another position, the more likelihood there is, whether you're the court system or whether you're the city or the county or whatever, that market move won't apply to you in terms of seniority because you don't have enough seniority. So to me, this market study, that if it does really good, is it does two things. One, it brings up people to market, and second, it reduces the steps you need to get to mid-range or to any range. So to me, it helps to do that. It helps to minimize the possibility that you end up with positions where people just move positions and then all of a sudden they're not senior there. So the people they left in this particular case probably make a little more or get a lot more from the market study than this individual will. So to me, that's going to happen every once in a while, and it should be dealt with individually by actually bringing forth the experiences people have and the position they took. And again, it doesn't work when people you supervise or people that you basically supervisors make less than the people they supervise, even if it's seniority that kicks in. So I'm going to make a motion, and I thought I had it here. Now I lost it because it was a real complicated motion. There was 2 steps on it. So if nobody has,
well, just one comment before you make the motion.
Right.
I want to thank the whole department, the courts that really looked into the consultant that looked into this. It took quite a while. As for me, as Supervisor Reyes says, there's no anytime we do a raise or what do you call it? Just when my mind, it just No, yeah, in compensation, yeah, that it goes, we're gonna hear that it needs to go, our salaries need to increment. I mean, as I recall, this is the first one, at least since I've been here, that we've done.
That's
It was
correct.
always in-house. So Tony must be
I must be
talking
thinking
about.
about years past,
you
years
know.
past, but I know that's a problem. I know. Well, anyway, this is a very confusing motion, so.
Keep it there, hold on. But I just want to say.
You've been hanging around Tony too much.
Yeah, you just talk
We
about
just,
that.
we got to keep in mind that, we still need certain positions in certain departments. We got a lot of construction coming up. So, let's keep in mind, it's a good raise, I say, kind of similar to what we did last year, and we've been doing it for the last 7 years, increments, small, and I think maybe the last 2 have been up, up there. But if in order for us to continue, because we want to continue being attractive, retaining, we got to keep in mind, that maybe some positions that we haven't had for 5 years, I don't think we need them anymore. So let's keep that in mind, because, I've always said it, if we want to compensate employees, let's be lean but mean. That's the only way we're going to be able to sustain it in the long time, future. I think Supervisor Lyons is correct. We want that. So we want this to continue for a long period of time, but let's be mindful of that.
Yeah, let's be mindful of recurring expenses and what impact they have on the tax rate. All right.
Right, Tony?
I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion. Can I make a
I want
motion?
it guaranteed.
I know, but you
Okay.
can't. You can't. You don't know what's gonna happen 2 years from now. I can tell you in 20-some years.
You're going to lose it, you better
Okay,
make a
okay,
motion.
all right, I make a motion. My motion will be to approve amendments to the regular county step pay plan, selected law enforcement pay plan and the judicial pay plan, to be known as the county pay plan. I don't know what that selected law enforcement and the judicial pay plan. Approve the grade and salary adjustments for full-time and part-time Yuma County Superior Court and law enforcement employees into their respective pay plans. And approve the necessary budget authority from the reserves and contingency to implement the aforementioned amendments to the Yuma County pay plan and grade and salary adjustments. Does that cover everyone?
Mr. Chairman, you need to make sure you include on your first part A that it'll be known as the county pay plan, selected law enforcement pay plan, and
The judicial pay plan. Oh, that's what there was in there. Okay, so the first recommended motion, the first section should say approve amendments to the regular county step pay plan, selected law enforcement pay plan, the judicial pay plan to be known as the county pay plan, selected law enforcement pay plan, and the judicial pay plan.
thank you.
I thought it was like redundant, but.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
It is.
It is redundant.
But it works.
Okay, all right. That's how it reads. The redundancy is desired in this particular case, so it will stay there.
Is
All
there
right, so did that cover everything?
Yeah.
There's a second. No, sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second.
Let me, Mr. Chairman, let me ask the other question. When is it implemented, to be implemented? This is not retroactive, is it? It's just
March.
towards the next.
March 3.
March
Yesterday,
3rd?
we would like to implement it retroactive 1 day.
All right, so retroactive 1 day.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve what Tony said.
The redundant
You
motion.
want
that I
me to
made.
Chairman, one question.
Don't read it.
Redundancy, yes.
In this adjustment, are we raising anybody outside of the recommended adjustment or far above it? Or everything is on par with the recommended?
The adjustments that will
Nothing
be,
40% over, nothing under.
the adjustments that are being made are in line with what the consultants have suggested with the 83% up to the 98% of comp ratio within that methodology. Nothing outside of that, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
All right. So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any approved? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
No,
Once
just
again,
excuse like.
Thank you.
Moving on to discussion regarding legislative issues. Alejandro. No, unos 2 minutes. Vamos para acá.
Now everybody leaves.
1 minute.
Now everybody leaves.
Do we have the sheriff here?
No.
That's okay. You must do more like ribbons and stuff.
You do know how to clear a room, Alejandro.
That's my skill.
Move on. No, I'm just kidding.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'll be presenting the legislative update. So to give you some context on the state, we've had more than 54 days in session. We've had more than 1,600 bills introduced, only 2 bills passed. So the next deadline, the next big deadline is for the Senate and the House is hear bills in opposite chamber by Friday, March the 22nd. So other than appropriations committee meetings in each chamber, legislative action moved to the floor last week. The House had 18 committee of the whole calendars on Wednesday and worked on the floor from morning until evening. On Thursday, the House third read more than 100 bills.
Wow.
They're rushing because they're going to be going on a trip fairly soon. So
to Israel.
Oh, yes, they're going to Israel.
So some bills of interest for the Board of Supervisors. H.R. 2060, Lawful Presence E-Verify Program Penalties. In an attempt to address illegal immigration, Speaker of the House Ben Toma introduced HCR 2060 earlier this year. The resolution would put a question onto the voters that, if passed, would require state, county, and city governments that receive state money for public welfare programs to use the federal E-Verify program to check that adult recipients are authorized to reside in the U.S.
Wait, stop. Just a
Fair.
second. If this passes 2060, it would require the counties and the cities to do E-Verify just like private businesses.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Pancrase, yes, it would. Cities and counties.
Okay, for any kind of benefits, period.
Uh,
I thought we did too.
I don't know if we do already on every single county and
Okay.
Alejandro,
yes.
can I, one of the things that I am not seeing up there that I've been contacted by a number of our constituents about is SCR 1006 and HCR 2023, which are mirrored bills, and they have to do with public nuisance. I've been contacted by our airport, as well as a number of other entities, as to businesses that are currently operating legal that could be declared public nuisances in the confines of this bill. I've spoken to leadership about both of that, and Rep. Dunn and Rep. Fernandez, and there's still some disparity there. Would you do a deeper dive on that?
Sure, absolutely.
I know that I've also spoken with Craig Sellers several times. He has concerns from the county's perspective, and Mayor Nichols from the League of Cities, and they are all very concerned as to the deleterious effect that this might have on cities and counties and businesses that could be deemed as public nuisances.
We'll definitely look into it, Supervisor.
Is that moving? Is that
It is. It's
SCR?
passed out of the House and it's moved on to the Senate. And after speaking with Peterson, Toma, and other people that are pushing it, there's a lot of finger pointing, but from cities and counties' perspective, it's a bad bill.
Yeah.
And Mr. Vice Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, those bills would go to the ballot.
Yes.
If passed.
And it would go to the ballot.
Okay.
Just like HCR. So I can speak a little bit to what HCR would do, give you a little bit of provisions. It requires municipalities, counties, state agencies.
Alejandro?
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
Quickly, John, for our county attorney, would you mind taking a look at that as well, as far as the negative or unintended consequences that it might have on a county?
SCR 1006.
Oh, yeah, and HCR 2023. Thank you.
So going on provisions, again, it requires municipalities, counties, state agencies, and licensing agencies on or after January 1st, 2026 to verify that an adult recipient is lawfully present in the United States under federal law by using E-Verify. It requires a record of the verification to be kept for at least 3 years. Allows municipality and county to administer federal monies to an eligible recipient offered pursuant to a federal program. Declares that a person commits obstruction of a legal duty. Well, it goes on and on as to the specifics of E-Verify.
It would be similar to what private businesses have to do already with E-Verify?
Very much.
Okay.
Moving forward, SB 1264, Colorado River pumping objection, requires a person who files a notice of intention to drill a well that is located in prescribed areas within a county adjacent to the Colorado River, and who holds an entitlement to Colorado River water to include in the notice of intent that the municipality, county, irrigation district, or county water authority governing the well does not object to the Arizona Department of Water Resources.
So would it mean people can't pump?
Unless they have the
approval
by the governing authority and Arizona Department of Water Resources. It will grant the person a real limit permit, and that bill will be. It passed the Senate last week.
It did pass?
Passed the Senate Cal. I'm sorry. Yes,
okay.
It's waiting for the third read. And I can always give you more details on any specific bills that you would like me to dive into.
You know, I know this is not going to sound like a real important bill, but there was one to extend some hours of training for kids that drive. Let's find out if that passed or is it driver license requirement.
Training for driver license.
Some additional training. I got that from my principal constituent, my daughter. And she wanted to find out. I don't know where they hear this stuff, but there was some sort of bill talked about adding 4.5 hours of training or something before you can get your driver's license. Because I didn't know, I thought maybe we had to find out.
I think they need like a year.
Yeah, you're funny.
No, I think isn't the permit supposed to cover that?
I will look into it, Supervisor Reyes.
Appreciate it.
HB 2124, Agriculture Operations Water Protection. It revises the definition of agricultural operations and modifies the basis for awards of costs and attorney fees in nuisance actions filed against an agricultural operation. That bill passed the House last week and has been first read in the Senate. HB 2318, State Match Rural Transportation, sponsored by Representative Dunn, changes requirements relating to the State Match for Rural Transportation, also known as SMART Fund, requires applicants who were awarded funding for design and engineering services to apply for a federal grant within 2 years or else have to repay the awarded funds. It modifies application requirements for SMART Fund monies. Action this week, it passed the House last week and it's been first read in the Senate. So this might impact the monies that we've received for Highway 95.
Yes.
I'll touch base with the county engineer and see what steps we need to take forward in the future to prevent having to pay for those funds that we've awarded.
And YMPO, they know a lot about that.
HB 2482, voter registration text notices, establishes a voter registration alert system requiring the county recorder to notify voters of changes to their vote registration record. It passed the House last week, so it's going to go to the Senate.
Say that again.
So it establishes a voter registration alert system that requires the county recorder to notify voters of changes to their voter registration record.
Okay.
I'm assuming that means changing political parties or addresses.
Last names.
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be notified. The
person
recorder's
has to-
office has to notify each.
Person who changes.
Right.
Okay.
Also in the state, as I mentioned before, 17 lawmakers will be absent beginning this week. The bipartisan group is taking a meet session trip to Israel sponsored by the nonprofit ITREC. The trip is being called educational, not recreational, as some critics complain. Without a speaker, majority leader, and several committee chairs, House work will be impacted. The Senate President has said his members will not be going and work will continue as usual. So 2 dates to keep in mind, March 20th marks the 100th day of the session. March 22nd, last day for bills to be heard in the opposite chamber.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cruising fast.
On the federal level, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, as you probably know, announced that he was not going to be running for another term as leader. McConnell will finish his term as Kentucky Senior Senator, which ends in 2026, but will no longer lead the Republican conference. McConnell's departure will set up a tough fight to succeed him. Minority Whip John Thune from South Dakota is the early favorite. However, former Whip John Cornyn from Texas and Republican Conference Chair John Barrasso from Wyoming quickly indicated interest. Also, House and Senate leaders reached a deal last week to avoid a shutdown of approximately 20% of federal government services ahead of a Friday deadline. If it passes, the deal will create new funding deadlines. March 8th for that 20% and March 22nd for the remaining 80%. So they just pretty much kicked the can a little bit.
Yeah,
into
down the road, just barely.
Just a little bit of a kick.
Yes.
Not a big kick, just a little kick.
Okay.
Finally, on the international and border affairs, Stanton and Congressman Stanton and Ciscomati have here it is. I'm sorry. Introduced new legislation to improve U.S. Customs and Border Protection's flexibilities in hiring, recruiting, and retaining agents, officers, and employees, specifically in rural and remote areas. That would definitely impact Yuma County. The act would direct the Department of Homeland Security Secretary to determine if there is a hiring need due to the remote nature of rural locations, which often makes it hard to recruit for CBP employees. The CBP Hire Act also requires DHS to annually review if further hiring flexibilities are still needed. On average, it takes 400 days for CBP to hire personnel.
Probably because marijuana is legal in every state, and when they ask them that question, they disqualify them.
Yes, it does. They need to change that
Or they go out
requirement.
to Afghanistan or someplace and smoke a joint, and then they come back and they're asked the question and they fail it. And there's nothing else that disqualifies them.
I agree. That's what's happening.
Somebody should work on that.
Well, the act would provide bonuses and special pay for those considering moving to a rural and remote area. And longer payment.
I still don't think it's gonna make a difference. Well, we're hoping, once we get the new director here, that the lines will move faster.
Still not helping that.
But you can give them right now 100 CBP officers tomorrow, and it'll be the same thing. So it's not a hiring issue or lack of CBP officers. Yeah.
Chairman, I'll just briefly comment on the couple of meetings I had with CBP, the interim port director, the Mexican consulate, and some Mexican, as well as GYPA and some Mexican authorities. There's been a new trend on the asylum seekers trying to go through the port of entry. Some families in the last 2 months have been purchasing vehicles in Mexico and waiting in line as a regular POV, showing up to the booth, and CBP is closing, every time that happens, is closing 2 lanes to be able to bring those individuals down and put them into custody, take them into custody, interview them, tow the vehicle, and so that's also not helping our wait times at the port of entry.
Mr. Chairman, but that's why they have secondary. Any vehicle.
I can report that the Mexican army is now searching some cars before they cross. That I can report, but again, like the chairman says, it's a matter of being able to handle this thing without disrupting regular legal travel. And for your information, the 2 finalists that I know for the board director's job. It's the one that's already there, which means there will be no change, and another one that's currently running the commercial port of entry in San Luis, Arizona. One is a local guy, and the other one is a lady, I don't remember her name, but those are the two, from what I found out, those are the two finalists. So if she gets hired, I don't see that policy is gonna change much, and if he gets hired, I don't know what will happen, but I don't expect many changes to happen until they can, to me, shift their focus from, their own into the people they serve, the public.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, we received commitment from the Mexican authorities that they would set up a checkpoint before they, reached the international boundary. Once they're on U.S. soil, there's nothing different that CBP right now can do based on their own regulations.
Because of these guys?
So yeah, that's what we achieved, to get some commitment from the Mexican authorities and helping the U.S. side kind of spot those vehicles before they reach the international boundary.
Retribution.
Yeah.
Also to show some presence to prevent some of those stampedes that happen sometimes in the morning at the port of entry for pedestrians, where it has become really risky for those waiting in line, ag workers and underage kids coming to school. So that's what I have to report on.
I know a lot of people that talk about that. I know people that they don't show up to work that day because of that, or they show up really late. But they say most of the times when that happens, it's because the students, the parents just drop them off and they cut in line and go all the way to the front. And just because they're students, but the people that are in line are here, they're workers, they're gonna work. So I don't know what. Maybe the Mexican, because it happens on the Mexican side. The kids that are just drop off right in front of the line, and they walk in front of everybody. So either they have a separate line or but maybe the Mexican authorities can help on that to impede that from that they get also in line. Hey, do you want to live in Mexico and go to school here? Get in line at the right time as the employees, the people that come and work.
I have a particular suggestion that I don't know why it is not taken up. Why don't you just send the farm workers out to the commercial port of entry? Or why don't you just simply process people at the commercial port of entry so you can move all these people away from over there?
Employees could go to commercial.
I don't think it's a congressional act.
I know that, Mr. Chairman, I know that they were considering moving people across number 2, but that's not finalized.
That is my report, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Alejandro. Supervisor Pencroff, thank you very much.
Just say lots.
Oh.
Just say lots.
Oh, no.
I think.
Where's my list? Okay. I went to a WACOG meeting for the Commission on, the Rural Commission on Aging. I met with ADQ. I went to the CSA Board of Directors. I attended Yuma's Best Breakfast 2023, Supervisors Annual Budget Retreat, Arizona at Work Providers Meetings. I made 3 of them, and my YMPO meeting. There you go. Okay. Done.
Thank you. I didn't hear if you did you go to the midnight of the Oasis?
Oh, I went to Midnight at the Oasis.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I didn't do that.
Saturday night. It was so fun.
Lots, Mr. Chairman, plus Midnight at the Oasis.
Pioneer Days Parade out in Welton, the BOS retreat. Mesa del Sol Homeowners Association meeting. Attended a briefing JBS put on out at the Welton Library, which was standing room only. Very interesting. I didn't stay for the whole thing because, like I said, it was very, very well packed.
Lots of questions.
So, yeah. But, and then also Mado, compliment the Caballeros. Another job well done.
Yes, they did a great job.
The weather cooperated.
Mm-hmm. Even Saturday night after the sun went down, the wind.
It was just amazing.
I met with the Vision Group, discussed a lot of the issues that pertain to the border. for your information, the number of trucks crossing the U.S. from Mexico to the U.S. at the San Luis Port of Entry decreased continually for the last 3 months. That's a bad sign.
That is.
So they got issues they need to deal with, agricultural issues. I don't know what they're calling it, inspections for.
Any reasons
But-
why, or?
Well, just some of the companies are realizing they can go through Calexico fast.
Yes, everybody.
Getting delayed because there's so few, so there's so little. It's the same old problem, right? You have so much time and you want to fill it up by inspecting every truck that you see.
That's right.
Pretty soon the trucking companies figure out that they can go through Calexico faster than they go through San Luis, even though San Luis has got a fraction of the number of trucks to go through. But that's being dealt with, or I hope it's being dealt with.
And we don't get the funds for them crossing at our port. Sorry, Calexico does.
So anyway, the crossing issues don't change much. The people change a little bit, the people running, but the issues of long lines have been there since a long time ago, let's put it that way. But that's one thing. The next, things in San Luis are pretty much quiet, other than the politics that are always there, but that's a different story. And I don't think I went to the Midnight Oasis, hopefully just a little while, but just to see how it was. It's always been a nice event. It still continues to be a very good event. Music is great, it's excellent. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Did you buy merchandise?
Oh, I was in Washington. We went to NACO. Who went to NACO?
Went to NACO, yes, you
A
did.
long time ago.
I really
Yeah, a
liked it
couple of
because I won an award, so.
Ooh. Ooh. No, I think it was, it was a good, I attended also the Midnight at the Races. Just one, I know you're a caballero, maybe one suggestion is that playing field where the food is.
Yeah.
Can that be more, can it be water? I mean,
Yeah.
Saw a lot of kids picking up,
I
just
know.
kicking.
I
and
know,
dust,
I know.
Eating there. But,
One of those things where you
The
touch
city
your
said that
face
they were
and
gonna
it's
water
in.
that stuff like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
We can,
But
we-
also.
we appreciate the city and everything they do.
Yeah.
Also just,
Yeah,
one
that's true,
comment
though.
on Friday, it was a crazy day with the roads.
With the change in the
traffic,
new
change.
traffic and the new route.
Yeah, I think, maybe you guys should stick to the original route, because there's a lot of complaints from, residents from Mesa Verde and Orange Grove.
The challenge is that
Yeah.
the Greyhound Park is no longer accessible to us,
Oh,
and
And
so we
Border
had to
Patrol.
move.
They used, where did they leave from?
They used to leave from the Greyhound Park.
yeah, uh-huh.
Okay.
It sounds like Tony Reyes right now.
So.
With a lot of valid questions and concerns.
You can talk about it some other time, but we got.
Thank you, Chairman.
Uh-oh.
Chamber of Commerce meeting, Regina Toomey of APS is the new chamber president.
Oh,
Arizona Work Providers meeting, Supervisor Simmons and I attended the flat-tailed horn lizard mitigation meeting with the
Right.
City of Yuma, MCAS, State Land Department. Met with Shelley Krieger, Executive Director of YSIPTA, of course, the budget retreat, State Supreme Court Chief Justice and Vice Chief Justice visit over at the courts, the 97th Drug Court graduation, chamber mixer at Core Engineering, and Mado. Good times.
Mr. Chairman, just one thing. The gentleman that complained about the traffic in Avenue B and extension of Avenue B, I guess I didn't think about it, but it's a very dark stretch of road at night, and it's pretty well populated by now. So, I know that we don't do street lights, but there used to be some street lights in there.
Well, that's what he said, that there was
There was
a
some
light
streetlights,
there.
so,
Right there at that
just
corner.
have Frank sort of do a little bit of a survey there, maybe Scott. It's why is it so dark now? I mean, now that we have all kinds of poles in there, we at least try to look and see if there's some ways that some of the residents there can hook up the poles, lights in the poles. It's just a matter of paying a fee every month.
And just for the record, that area there, it's in Tony's district.
And just for the record, I wasn't aware.
Yeah, because it's
It sounded in there.
But it's the zip code, not the city of Somerton.
Well, it says Somerton, 8350.
Don, Bill, do you guys want to report anything you guys did over the weekend?
That's it, it's 11 a.m.
John did volleyball, I'm sure.
Ian, and
That's it.
that's it, all right, all right. Meeting adjourned.